Today, we sit down with Salas, CEO of EcoAuto, a visionary leader transforming sustainable transportation. Get ready to learn how electric vehicles are becoming more affordable, accessible, and built for everyday homeowners.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in for My Path to Safe Housing Initiative. We're really excited about today's conversation. The person we're going to be meeting with today is actually Salas, the Chief Executive Officer of EcoAuto and founder of this really innovative company. We're really excited to share his story, what he's been able to accomplish, and more importantly, show you guys the path on how you guys could save when you guys are transitioning to sustainable transportation. Al, great to see you again. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. I'm really excited to learn more about your story and what really inspired you to start EcoAuto. So what was your origin story? How did you guys get started?
Well, thanks for having me, and appreciate being part of this amazing initiative. It really is, honestly, game changing. So, as far as our origin story, how we started with a simple mission of making sustainable transportation available for everyone. We believe that sustainability doesn't have to be at a premium. And most importantly, we also believe that you don't have to be at the higher tiers of society in income in order to be in the privilege of being sustainable. And so we see sustainability as something that should be affordable and available to everyone that wants to participate.
That's amazing. So, traditionally speaking, when you think about electric vehicles, oftentimes you think that they're going to be a lot more expensive to own, and not only just to own, but also to purchase. And what you've proven over the last couple of years is that it's actually extremely accessible. And what you guys have been able to really do is redefine how people could take advantage of these incentives, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of upside for consumers that want to make the transition, and not only in availability and affordability, but also because of the incentives that are available, really gives people a lot of opportunity to get a vehicle that's technologically advanced. That's actually, especially when you look at pre-owned, that's very affordable compared to a traditional gas car. It's also going to save you money, save the environment, and on top of that, there's still some rebates and incentives, especially here in the state of Massachusetts, that can help and consumers really take advantage of a lot.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that we got to give it more credit because you say some, but there's actually a lot of incentives. Like there's up to what, $6,000 available in incentives?
Yeah, I mean, if we were to add it all up, it could be up to $9,500, $9,500 of incentives for people that choose to drive EV here in the state of Massachusetts. Pre-owned, so you get to save money by buying a pre-owned vehicle, and also you get to save up to $9,500. Not to mention the impact that you're able to have in the environment by avoiding manufacturers from going to a landfill, or excuse me, the natural resources, retapping into them, and also keeping these vehicles with batteries out of landfills.
Absolutely. So diving in a little bit deeper on the available rebates and incentives and how people can really gain access to those, there's really four ways that people could take advantage of those, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's four different incentives here in the state of Massachusetts that people can qualify for, and adding them all up together could be up to 9,500.
That's excellent. So the first one that's currently available is the More EV standard. Kind of explain that to us a little bit in simple layman's terms, what that means and how and sort of like how people could kind of learn more about those.
Yeah. So the first program, the first three programs actually are all provided by the More EV. That's MOR-EV program here in the state of Massachusetts, and that program, the first one in that category is the More EV standard. The More EV standard rebate applies to new vehicles, which will be up to, well, in this particular case, More EV standard gets you $3,500 on a new vehicle, or you could have a second qualifier, which is the second portion of the More EV. Now, More EV standard could be applied towards new cars. And very similar to More EV standard is the More EV used, which
Okay.
is the same amount of money, but it's on the pre-owned side.
So oftentimes what used to happen in the past is that the incentives were primarily focused on the new car market. But what's happened is that in order for states, and really what's been happening is that states have been really promoting sustainable transportation and also sustainable living, right? So improvements at home as well. And so they've made these rebates accessible to used cars on here. And so that's sort of like the niche of what you guys specialize in here at EcoAuto, right?
Yes, we particularly focus on the pre-owned side, on the used cars vehicle market. And there's a few reasons why. I mentioned earlier that we really like the fact that our focus and our mission keeps vehicles manufacturers going back to natural resources, tapping into the earth, to precious metals to build
Absolutely.
these batteries.
Yep.
Secondly, is by keeping them in service, because we do sales and service, we're able to expand from that, and we're able to now provide that same idea, but keeping the vehicles out of landfills. And now, through the impact of our national franchise, we're also able to impact that nationwide in all throughout all kinds of manufacturers, and creating a one-stop shop here.
So that's great. So you're also allowing homeowners across the country to gain access to these incentives, where otherwise it may not be so obvious or easy to navigate. So walking through the different rebates and incentives, what are sort of the requirements to be eligible for some of these incentives?
Definitely. So I'm more familiar with the pre-owned side, and I can give you a lot more information on the
Yeah,
used side.
absolutely. Yeah, let's focus on that.
Yeah. And so here in the state of Massachusetts, would be the first portion would be the income qualifier. So, well, let's backtrack a little bit. First, you have to buy a pre-owned EV. That's the first
Sure.
qualifier.
Yeah.
Or it does apply also to a new EV, but it does have to be on an EV. And so on the pre-owned side, you first decide to purchase that pre-owned EV for your family, and next would be your income qualifier. So there's three different breakdowns to that. The first one is if you file jointly with your husband or wife or significant other, and filing jointly allows you to get up to if you earn up to 150K in gross adjusted income, that's after all your adjustments. And there's some ways that you're able to see that right on the IRS's website. You're able to qualify for that.
But that's most people in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
and,
of
and,
course.
and largely across the country.
Yeah, definitely most households, especially aligning with your mission. So if you really think about it, it's a large portion of our population, because it's not like it's 150K of whole household income, if you're filing jointly. So it's really a lot when you look at it. And so most homes and most families are able to qualify for these programs.
So that gets you eligible for the first 3,500.
Yes.
Now, are there additional incentives that they can qualify for depending on their income brackets and other potential state programs that they may be eligible for?
Yeah, so if you participate in one of about 11 different programs that the state has,
Okay.
which are state programs, could be Veterans Affairs, could be the more common ones are VA and also Mass Health. If you participate on programs that are from the state, you could qualify up to an additional $1,500.
Okay.
That gets added on to that original $3,500.
So you would get $5,000 there,
yes.
right? And the total cap is up to 6,000.
Up to six. It's actually up to 6,000, because there's another kicker.
Okay.
If you trade in, it's called the More EV trade-in, and that is if you trade in a vehicle, an ICE vehicle or internal combustion engine vehicle that is still registered, some qualifications there, and that would get you an additional $1,000.
So let's break this down simply. So an internal combustion engine is a vehicle that runs on gas, right?
Right.
Or diesel. Does that still qualify?
That's a great question. I actually would have to look at the term at the qualifications.
Okay.
In order to
so
determine
so depending on the type of vehicle that you're trading in, most likely gas, right?
Yeah.
it's possible you'll qualify for an additional $1,000 towards that trade-in on top of the appraised value of that vehicle.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
So for homeowners that qualify for these incentives, you're potentially looking at the initial $3,500 for being a household that's under $150,000, right? And then on top of that, if you qualify for like, Mass Health Connector, Mass Health, or any of those other state programs, you may be eligible for an additional $1,500. And then if you're driving a vehicle that runs on gas, which most likely you are on there, then you will get an additional $1,000 on top of that. So on a pre-owned vehicle, you can get up to $6,000 total.
Yes, provided the additional 1,000, provided that the car that you're trading in is 12 years or older and it's still currently registered.
Okay, 12 years or older and currently still registered.
Yes.
Okay, and then on top of that, now we also have to take into consideration other factors in terms of like, how are they going to charge at home? What things do they need to do at home to kind of prepare to be able to transition to sustainable transportation? So what are some of the things that you guys provide here to help make that transition a lot easier?
Well, first it starts with education. This is why we really love supporting the mission for My Path to Freedom, and most importantly, My Path to free housing. I mean, no, well, not free housing, but sustainable housing, right? And so I really, really believe that it starts with education. It's about educating. If you don't know, to take advantage of these different opportunities, and that's one. So one of the things that we do here at EcoAuto is that we really go the extra mile and go a long way to educate our consumers, let them know before they purchase. These are the different ways that you can charge a vehicle. This is how you use the vehicle. We encourage for you to come take a look and take a look at the different types of electric vehicles, or maybe an electric vehicle is not the right fit. There's another type of green vehicle that fits your needs better, which could be a hybrid, could be a plug-in. I mean, the whole goal is to make sure that sustainable transportation is for everyone, and there isn't a premium to be paid in order for you to take advantage of it. So that takes different forms.
That's great. And I understand that you guys also collaborate with organizations and utilities like National Grid, Eversource, and help educate consumers on where they can get additional incentives for being able to get home chargers. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And through Eversource, which is one you mentioned, National Grid, also a couple of the municipal light departments, and even the My Path to Freedom initiative has also helped in that when it comes to getting consumers the ability and accessibility to install chargers at home.
Absolutely. And guys, at the end of this presentation, you'll actually be able to go onto your resources at the bottom of the actual training and actually be able to find some of those helpful resources to help you navigate the available incentives for more EV, as well as some of the charger incentives that are currently available to help you make that adoption a lot easier. Let's kind of transition a little bit into like the impact for homeowners and why sustainable transportation, particularly electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, is really starting to make a lot of sense now.
For homeowners, quite frankly, is one of the biggest impact and drivers that can be to a family's budget for multiple reasons. A car is the second biggest purchase after your home. It is, if you already are a homeowner, by the time you bought your first home, you probably bought several vehicles. And you'll probably buy several more while you're in that same house, that one house. So for everyone, and this is just, I love numbers, but just one of the statistics, but for every one home that a person buys, they buy about 6 cars.
Wow.
So it's a really important part of our lives and our day-to-days. So from that perspective, when you consider that, and you consider that 90% of the charging that happens in the United States happens at homes, you start to put 2 and 2 together. Why is that? Well, you can refuel your vehicle charging at home with the average utility price between $5 and $8 overnight. That means that if you have a full tank of gas at the beginning of the day, you empty your tank, you get home and you refuel for just $8 at most instances. You can't beat that, especially when you're talking about inflation and the cost of living and the cost of food and resources and schooling and education and and all the extra pluses. So you really gotta watch every penny, and one of the best ways that you can do that is by cutting down your refueling costs. The second thing is commuting. We all, well, for the most part, after COVID, we've gone back to the offices, and most people are commuting a lot of the times. An electric vehicle is better for a commute for multiple reasons. One is much more fuel efficient, going back to the point that we made. But it's also more technologically advanced. It has features that makes us safer in the vehicle. A lot of times, like super cruise controls and pre-collision features and a lot of extra sensors and guardrails that keep us safer inside of the cars. So it makes our commute more enjoyable, more safe, and also really gives us a complete perspective on what we could truly enjoy inside of technology. And lastly, going back to why a homeowner, when you consider all combining some of the other sustainable options for consumers, like we talked about some of the other programs like the mass save and the energy programs that are in the state. There is a lot of different opportunities for consumers, and let's say that you were to have solar, we're considering having solar inside of your home or battery storage. Now you're talking that you're going to have a net zero impact completely to your pocket and also to the environment. So when you combine all of those different reasons why, it's truly unbeatable. Not to mention that I mentioned earlier that there is an additional $3,500 for people that want to ride share and use some sort of a side hustle with ride sharing.
So let's dive in on that a little bit. So for homeowners that are looking to find ways to maybe generate a little bit extra revenue, on their spare time, these vehicles literally give you the opportunity to basically be able to do Uber, Lyft, rideshare, and there's what you just mentioned are additional incentives that when you go and purchase these vehicles and you have the intention to use these vehicles for rideshare, Uber, or Lyft, you can qualify for how much more?
An additional $3,500.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in total, if you do your research, you could be looking at savings as much as $9,500 in total. If you're a homeowner, again, let's break these down quickly. If you're a homeowner that has a household of $150,000 or less, if you qualify for mass health or any of the state incentives, you could qualify for an additional 1,500, bringing that to 5,000. And then if you're trading in a 12-year-old vehicle that's still registered and on the road, you could get an additional $1,000 for trading in that ICE vehicle. And then in addition to that, if you transition to Uber, Lyft, or rideshare, you could get an additional 3,500 for a total of 9,500.
Mm-hmm.
And are there caveats? Are there requirements, or are there limitations on how much they can spend on the vehicle before they're no longer eligible for it?
That's a great question, Robert. So the vehicle does have to be at least 2 years or older, so
Okay.
2023 or older at the time of this recording. And it has to also be under 40K.
Okay.
And the third qualifier is that it has to be on the pre-qualified vehicles list inside of the MORIV program.
Okay. So it's got to be under the pre-qualified list.
Mm-hmm.
The vehicle's got to be $40,000 or lower, which for most people that makes sense when they're buying within their means,
Right.
right? And then in addition to that, it's got to be 2 years or older, which is
Yeah.
still essentially in today's day is a brand new car.
That's correct.
So can they get a 2023 Tesla?
Yeah. Absolutely, actually.
Wow. Can they get like a Ionic
I
4?
mean, the options, there's a ton of options, and it's a really great time to consider this. And it's funny that we're talking about this there's because there's been a huge influx of new vehicles into the marketplace as far as EVs. So they're actually coming up on the secondhand market, and as of January of 2026, there will be a increase of 3 times the amount of inventory availability at once in the marketplace. So the availability is going to be there, and there are going to be some amazing, amazing deals for families who are looking for affordable transportation that not only is incredible to drive, but also is technologically advanced, has the latest safety features, and also is going to give you the best bang for your buck.
This is fantastic, Al. I really appreciate you breaking this down so that's easy to understand. And not only that, like we're really showing homeowners like how accessible this is. And you shouldn't be afraid of navigating these rebates and incentives. What you guys have done here is really simplified that. And you guys have a team of you guys don't have salespeople here, you guys EV specialists who will literally walk you through the process on how to qualify for these rebates and incentives so that you can make the process as easy as possible, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's amazing.
And thank you for this initiative. It really, I think it's a fantastic message for homeowners, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. So we're glad to be supporting it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you guys found this series very helpful. If you guys like to learn more, please visit Al at myecoauto.com, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next segment. Good seeing you guys.